Aloha, my name is Jennifer O'Neill and welcome to Spirit Chat. So today I'm going to be doing a short podcast or video, wherever you're watching me at, on the energy that's kind of going on right now, because there's a lot going on energetically. And so for those who are sensitive, you're going to find that you're probably being really affected by these different changes and shifts that are happening right now. And everybody loves it when I do the energy report, so I posted some stuff in the group this week, in my Keys to the Spirit World group. If you're not a member of that, you probably want to stop on over and check that out. There'll be links below so that you can go ahead and join the group. It's free, so it doesn't cost anything. Anyways, if you're sensitive, you will find that you are probably most likely more greatly affected by all this different energy that's going on right now. The astrological energy, the spiritual energy, the physical energy of everything that's happening. And this can cause some unrest. It can cause havoc and just different things where you're just feeling unsettled, worried, maybe even fearful, upset, those types of things. So it's good to know when we're having a more intense wave. And right now we have 6 planets that are going to be going in retrograde at different times. We have had the solar eclipse. We've also had the summer solstice. So we have really a lot going on astrologically right now, the same as we do energetically. And when this kind of stuff happens, I definitely notice it in my life, that it feels like you're kind of on a roller coaster wave of, emotions, or just different things come at you differently. When we're sensitive, we can feel all that. And so I think it's good to give you guys a heads up. People really like it. And so here's some of the things that you're going to be wanting to watch for right now. Now, do keep in mind that even though that we're going to be having the 6 planets in retrograde at different times, a lot of this will still carry over, like this energy report will carry over for another couple weeks, and then we'll probably be feeling or sensing some new energy, and just continue to roll with the different cycles that we have. Right now, the first thing that you probably are noticing is emotions are on the higher side. And so you may feel more emotional than normal when you're typically not as emotional. You may find that your emotions can tend to just flare up out of nowhere, where you're being, seemingly fine, and then the next thing you know, you're more sensitive. You're more sensitive to events, or just more sensitive to your own emotions. They can tend to just bubble up to the surface really quickly, and you're kind of like, maybe not an emotional person, but you're sort of like, why is this, bothering me more than I know myself. Why is it bothering me more than it should be? Or why do I feel like I'm making kind of a bigger deal out of this when I know that shouldn't be happening? And so you may find that you're getting some roller coaster of emotions. They flare up. You might find that you're feeling just overly emotional. And that is one thing that's happening with all this stuff, the universal energy, the planetary energy. They're aligned in a way that's causing emotions to be heightened, I guess I would say. The other thing is anxiety definitely is higher than normal. That seems to happen when we have more intense waves than we don't. You may feel more anxious than normal, and might find that you're, things that normally don't make you feel anxious make you feel anxious. You might also find that sometimes, you might wake up with anxiety. When we're having really intense waves, I often find that out of nowhere, it's not related to a dream. It's not related to something I'm thinking about. It's not relating to any of those things. I find that I will be woken up with some intense energy, or I will be aware, very sensitive to intense energy that's moving around my space, and it will have a very anxious frequency to it. The vibe will make me feel anxiety. And I always know when we're going to have an intense energy wave because I typically am woken up with this anxious feeling. So if you find that you're waking up with an anxious feeling, if you're being, awoke, or you wake up early and you find that you're feeling anxious, anything that you can't really pinpoint it to anything, like I said, you didn't have a weird dream, you didn't have, any thoughts going through your head, you weren't lying awake and then got anxious. It was more like the anxiousness woke you up out of a sleep or whatever. Those are really good indicators that in energy that you're sensing or you're aligning with, that you're feeling at that point in time has the anxious frequency to it, a higher frequency, but it's like more of a choppy frequency. So you find that you feel anxious, and that is common when you have intense energy waves, because what happens is when you're sleeping, you're naturally aligning with energy in the spiritual realm. You're naturally aligning with universal energy. Your mind and the physicality of your perception has shifted, and you're very tuned into the energetic realm, different dimensional frequencies, different spiritual frequencies. You're very much aligned and aware. You're plugged in to what's kind of going on that you can't see or you block out when you're awake. And so that's why that's super common to be finding that might wake you up. So it's kind of like, think of it sort of like, how a loud noise wakes you up? Think of it like a loud frequency noise. It's like a loud energetic noise that you can't hear, you can just feel it, right? And it becomes intense, wakes you up, and it's not awesome. But the good news is if you're woke up by it, it's typically not attached to something in your life, so that's really good. The next thing is with emotions and your emotional state. You're feeling kind of upset or off kilter, sort of out of nowhere. We're also dealing with deep-seated emotions bubbling to the surface. And what I mean by that is things that you may feel have been resolved, deep-seated, I guess I would say issues, things that might be bothering you that you're like, oh, that's not bothering me, I'm totally fine with that. They're going to surface, they're going to come up in a way that you can't really ignore it. And when they come up, then you couple that with your sensitivity to being more emotional right now. We can thank Venus for that. And so you have this emotional thing going on, and then you have some deep-seated stuff that you're thinking you're fine, you can handle it, whatever, and now you have the perfect storm for sort of an explosion of emotions, feeling maybe upset, you might be crying, you might be feeling sad, you might be lashing out, or it might not be you. You might find that it's somebody around you, such as kids, family, friends, spouse, whatever. So worries, fears, mostly what you're gonna find with this one is unresolved stuff that's like, it has really bothered you for a while, but you never really addressed it. That's typically what you're gonna find with this deep emotion stuff. So we're really good at, as humans, as people, we're really good at kind of putting a cork on things and blanketing stuff and not really, I guess I would say, addressing things that we feel like we can't really address. Maybe they involve other people, or maybe it feels like it's out of our hands. And so instead of coming to our own resolve with it, in other words, if it's something that's sort of deep-seated that you feel like might be affecting you, but you feel also like it's something that it involves somebody else, or involves another situation, or maybe it was in the past somewhere, what you can do is you can address your own emotions about it. You can shift your perspective. You can find a way that you start to become not necessarily okay with it, but you've resolved your emotions about it. You've understood it from a different perspective. You're looking at it from a different point of view. So that would be one of the things that I would suggest that you do right now if you're finding these deep emotions coming up and you're like, where is this coming from? Like, this is like coming out of nowhere. I don't really get this. That's when you're going to want to take a different view of the situation or of the emotions or whatever. You want to shift your perspective on that and just be like, okay, how can I look at this differently? How is there a lesson in this for me? How can I remove any hurt or guilt or worries or fear? How do I remove that out and see it for more of probably what it is, which would be, like I said, more of a lesson. It might not even really involve you. It might be somebody else's situation that they're going through, and maybe it becomes lashed out on you. It could be a number of different things that doesn't really involve you, but you really, as a sensitive, need to learn, okay, since this isn't really involving me, how can I really not have it involve me with me being worried about it, or me being fearful about it, or feeling upset or hurt by it, right? How can someone else's actions or whatever they say or whatever, for instance, maybe from in the past when you were younger, past relationship, whatever, how can this not affect me that way? Because most likely it wasn't intentional. Most likely there was things that person's going through. Usually and typically also, keep in mind when you're sensitive, to be more aware of when most people behave a certain way to you, when there's certain situations you get in, or they say certain things or whatever. It's typically not really at you, but you have to be able to pull back in a sense that you can see that they're going through their own stuff, that they have their own journey, that your journey might not necessarily be tied to that experience and that journey for them, but you get roped in somehow emotionally. And so it's learning to separate. It's learning to view other people as human and making mistakes. It's learning to see the situation more for what it is and not like really get too emotional about it. It's learning to let go of other emotions and let them kind of resolve, because people change, situations change, and you don't want to hold on to any past energy. So this is actually a really good opportunity to understand that there are things in transition right now. And so that's why a lot of these deep emotions are bubbling to the surface. You're in transition, people are in transition, environments are in transition. And so as we move into a new space, into a new phase of our life and our journey, and astrologically things are shifting, we don't want to bring any past stuff with us over into the new area. So they're coming to the surface. It's kind of like if you clean house. Let's just say you're moving from one house to another house. What do you do when you're packing stuff? Most likely, most people get rid of all the junk that they've been holding on to that they no longer need, right? You get rid of all the stuff in the junk drawer you don't need. You get rid of old clothes that you don't need, because why? You want to start fresh. You want to start new. You want to only bring things that suit you now as you move forward. And that's how you kind of want to view this. This transitional period is only bringing emotions, situations, memories, only moving them forward if they're suiting us. And how do you know if they're going to suit you? Because you will feel positive about it. So if it's going to suit you moving forward, it's going to enhance your life somehow. So that's what you want to remember. That's going to be one of the key things, is if you want to bring it with you, it somehow should, the memory, the emotion about it, it should enhance your life somehow. If it's not enhancing your life, you need to learn how to resolve it, come to terms with it, and leave it in this old energy that we're moving past right now. That's really, really, really important. And the last thing is finances are probably for some of you more of a focus than normal. And what I mean by finances is all kinds of financial stuff, whether it be rebudgeting again. A lot of people are finding that they're paying off things or wanting to figure out how to save things. Financial habits and patterns are in transition right now for most of us personally. And what I mean by that is you will probably find that your need or your desire, your urge to do finances the way that you used to do it, probably the last 5 or 10 years, that's going to shift and change. So you're going to have new ideas and new desires on how you want to move forward. So maybe how you spend your money, how you budget your money, how income is coming in, how income is going out. So there's a pretty good focus on finances right now, where they're just sort of calling your attention, and maybe that they're calling your attention, they're highlighting in a way that, you're addressing certain situations, not positive nor negative. There just seems to be a lot of financial adjustment going on. So I kind of view that as a good thing, because I think energetically and physically, it's always good to take a moment to look at your finances, especially when we're dealing with planetary energy and different universal energy. Those are literally, for me, I feel like the best times to restructure financially, put different financial intentions out there, revisit financial goals, different things like that, because money is energy, just like all things are energy. And so when we're in a transitional period that's very powerful, if you align your money energy with that frequency of shifting and changing, it can really powerfully shift things financially for you, which is super awesome. And so just the same as relationships, if you learn to adjust with all this transitional energy and leave things in the past, situations in the past, it's like a cleansing, it's like a clearing out. Financially, the same thing. If you're adjusting, you're clearing out old energetic habits and patterns that are attached to your finances, which is it's a real thing, and you're creating new ones. And we always want to be ever changing. We always want to be evolving with the energy, especially right now, because we're in such an evolving time period with the planets and everything. So the last couple things that I just want to throw out there to you, that is not on the sheet that I did or anything, is one, we have super crazy technical issues right now. I swear every computer, every phone call, every digital thing that I am doing, my phone calls are being dropped, my computer stuff is not opening, things are not saving. It's insanity. It's like Mercury retrograde 5,000. Now, we did just come into Mercury retrograde. However, we were having issues with this beforehand. So there was other planetary stuff that was the perfect storm for really severe technical difficulties. So technical issues. So if you're having technical issues regarding all your stuff, computer, whatever, then that's super common right now. And then the last thing that I wanted to point out that I had put on my Keys to the Spirit World group, I just wanted to point out that when energies are higher, when we're dealing with higher spiritual energies, which we deal with when the planetary shifting's happening, the energy update that we're having right now, it allows spiritual energies to kind of ride in on those waves. So when we're dealing with transitional stuff, the spiritual energies will kind of ride in along that frequency. If we're having some struggles, like some anxiety stuff or whatever, the spiritual frequency will ride that wave in. So that they tend to ride in the same frequency wave. So one of the things that I wanted to point out right now, especially with the intensity of what's going on energetically, is you want to be aware that when you do things like drink alcohol, you make yourself very vulnerable to lower vibration frequencies as far as spiritual stuff goes. So that's one thing that you want to be aware of. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, never drink again. Like, I'm not saying that at all. People, you know, that's something that they enjoy. I'm not a huge drinker, but I do have a drink on occasion. But one of the things that you want to be aware of, you just want to be aware that drinking alcohol tends to lower your vibration. And when we have a higher energetic transitional period, when the intensity is happening like it is right now, then that spiritual stuff can also be more intense and more aggressive, I guess I would say. So they're looking for vulnerabilities, they're looking for cracks or different things. So if you're drinking and also find that you are experiencing, you know, sadness or weird emotions, or just things out of the blue where your negative thoughts, things like that, those are things that you want to watch for, especially when we have an intense energy wave like we do now. So just keep that in mind. So what you want to do is you want to just be aware of that before. You want to make sure that you're doing a lot of clearing prior to and after. And the last thing that I would suggest is making sure that you do some type of physical activity the day after, for sure, because it helps to ground you more powerfully than just doing the regular grounding techniques. And you want to make sure that you are ridding yourself, clearing all the junk out, getting rid of all the, you know, negative energy, getting rid of all the low frequencies that may want to look for vulnerabilities within you at this time, and just, you know, shut them out. Be like, nope, I'm good. You just stay in your house, I'll stay in mine. Okay? So if you enjoyed this spirit chat, I'd love it if you subscribed. Definitely follow, subscribe, whatever, because I will be doing more updates. I just finished one of my other classes. I'm working on the spirit communication class right now, and I will be keeping you guys posted on that. And hopefully you have the most amazing transitional period and the most amazing day. All right. Aloha. Bye.